Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cy Huffer and Friends. This is a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. I'm your host, Cy Huffer, lead pastor of the Gathering Christian Church in Naples, Florida. And typically each month we do an episode called Can I Ask That? And we tackle different topics about faith and life and how you make faith and Christianity real and applicable and accessible to you in pursuit of the full abundant life that Jesus offers. What we're going to do is a special episode today. We took a study that we are giving and created for people at our church that are just coming out of the baptistry, who are brand new to Jesus, brand new to church, that we use to teach them what does it look like to be a follower of Jesus? What does it look like? What are the basics of this Made for More life? And what does it look like to engage in church life, and why is worship important, and why is being in a group and being involved in the mission of God important? And so what we're going to do is we're going to give that content to you today. And yet on the back end, I invited my friends Andy and Lindsay to do a Q&A session, a special Q&A session on that content just for you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's helpful for you and helping you take that next step towards that Made for More life. Well, hey everybody, welcome to session 3 of the Made for More, the Basics course or training or discipleship experience. We are talking today about the home gathering and the impact the home gathering has for you on the Made for More life. Remember, John 10:10, Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. Like Jesus wants to give you abundant life now and eternal life later, both. And that abundant life now comes from 3 gatherings. We saw this from Acts chapter 2, that the worship gathering, the home gathering, and the mission gathering of the church, these 3 gatherings are what we do as the church. This is the church's activity together that helps produce other disciples, other apprentices, other Padawans of Jesus to take his life and make his life and imitate your life after his. Okay. And so last session 2, we talked about the worship gathering. Today, we're going to double click on the home gathering. We're also going to remind you of these spiritual habits from Acts 2:42, that we individually can devote ourselves to the apostles' teaching, the prayers, fellowship, and breaking bread. Today, we're going to dive a little bit into and introduce to you the idea of the testimony and the story, this habit that we have that helps pair with the home gathering. When you want to engage with other people and are involved with other Christians, the key to that, part of that, is you being able and being willing to share with some transparency and vulnerability your own story and testimony and what Jesus is doing in your life. So we're going to dive into the home gathering here, straight from Acts 2. This is what the early church did to fulfill Jesus' command to make other apprentices, other disciples of Jesus. You see it here in this underlined section. Acts 2:42-47. It says this: they met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. This was their rhythm. And it was their rhythm for 2,000 years. You can track throughout church history different movements of Christianity, of people not just going to worship on Sundays, but gathering in homes with a smaller group of people to encourage each other in their walk with Jesus to become more like him. And the question I want to ask, and maybe you're asking, is why? Like, why gather in homes when you have worship at the temple? Like, isn't the worship at the temple, isn't that like the big thing? Isn't that the main thing? Isn't that the thing that we're all doing? Isn't that what it means to go to church? Yes and no. Like, worship at the temple is a third of what we believe produces, of the church's activity that produces disciples, that produces the full, abundant life that Jesus offers. The second third are home gatherings. God, at the very beginning, when he created man, everything was good except for one thing. In Genesis 2, you see him say this: the Lord God said, it is not good. The first time he says it's not good. It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. It's not good for us to be alone. Like, that's the first not good thing in creation, is for man to be by himself. Yet, the reality is we feel so alone. It's weird in this social modern age, the social media age, when we're more connected than ever, we feel more lonely than ever. Loneliness is an epidemic right now. I mean, if you living through COVID, experiencing not the inability to gather with other people, to be in person with other friends and relatives, like loneliness wreaked havoc on our society. It has astronomically increased depression, anxiety, and mental health issues. And we are never more connected than ever, and we've never felt more alone. So much so, this is fascinating, that the United Kingdom in Britain actually has a minister of loneliness. Look at that headline. In a sad reflection of modern Britain, where 9 million live in isolation and 200,000 elderly go weeks without talking to a friend or relative, the Prime Minister appoints a minister for the lonely. That's how serious and severe loneliness is in our society. There's a story of a dad talking to his kindergarten son about loneliness and how there's lonely people in the world. And the son said this, well, let's get a list of all the lonely people in the world and a list of all the people who aren't lonely, and have the people who aren't lonely call the people who are lonely. I love that. If only it were that simple, right? Like, that's what we should just do. We should just call people who are lonely and invite them to be part of our friend group, of our community. See, at the heart of loneliness is this desire to belong. We want to know others and to be known. This is at the heart of what we're looking for, of what we're all yearning for. We're all asking, every worldview is asking the same three questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And where do I belong? This is at the heart of what we all want. Yet how are we so connected, yet feel so alone? A big part of it is mismanaged expectations. Brene Brown said this: the disappointment is unmet expectations. And the more significant the expectations, the more significant the disappointment. This even amplifies when you put it into a church religious context. Like, here's the people that's supposed to love everybody. Here's the people supposed to, that if they believe that every human being is made in the image of God, the Imago Dei, they give dignity and value worth to every person. So I'm going to go here because I feel so lonely. I'm looking for community. I'm looking to belong to someone or to something. And I go there. And the reality is, I go to church. I go to the worship gathering. I walk in. I'm greeted by people at the door. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. Oh, man, that's going to be on the video for forever. I walk in. I'm greeted by people at the door. I go and I sit in a seat. I listen to these songs. I hear someone talk. I take communion, and then I leave. I didn't get to talk to anybody or make any real connections. You see how that can be just earth-shattering to someone who has this hunger and this yearning and this longing to belong. Bobby Harrington said that everything in life has a spiritual dimension. When people gather to meet with Jesus, they bring heightened levels of unstated desires, dreams, and needs. In such expectations lie the joys and frustrations of church life. Those expectations, when they are broken and there's significant expectations, the disappointment just skyrockets. There was a book by Joseph Meyer called The Search to Belong. It's not a Christian book. It's a sociological book. And really, in that book, he works on the sociologist's work, Edward T. Hall, who developed a theory based on relationship and literally the physical space and distance between humans. And when that distance is a certain amount of feet or inches, closing the gap of that distance impacts the intimacy and the belonging that a person can feel. And he suggests that human beings use 4 different spaces. And so what Bobby Harrington in his book, Discipleship That Fits, did is he took those spaces in that sociological work and he looked at the Bible. He says, is this true according to Scripture? And sure enough, they added a 5th space, but they call it contexts. And in his book, he shows how we bring the wrong expectations of what different church gatherings can do to fulfill our desires for belonging. Okay, it's fascinating. So here's the context. First is the public context. This is 100 to thousands of people. Think about a rock concert or a sporting event or some kind of conference. And the public context always centers everybody who's there around a shared outside resource. You're going to see Taylor Swift. You're all there not to connect with each other, but to share experiencing Taylor Swift in concert. Okay. Then there's the social context. The social context is that 20 to 70 people uh, number. That's the size of the group. And in this context, people get to see snapshots of each other. They get to see snapshots of people and a lot of small talk and a lot of talk around tables or around like buffets or finger foods or whatever. And slowly over time, you begin to cautiously build affinity with others. You have a conversation with one person, you're like, yeah, that was okay. But you have another conversation with somebody else and you're like, man, I really feel like I could be friends with that person if I had more time with them, or if we got to spend more time just with us together. Think about it, the backyard grill out that you have at Halloween or that you have at the Super Bowl party. You have a bunch of people there. It's more than 20. It's like 50 people, 30 people. And everybody's kind of cautiously talking to each other if they don't know each other that well and seeing, hey, maybe that's someone I want to pursue a relationship with. Then you go to the personal context. This is 4 to 20. And in this group, this is typically, a group of best friends, 4 couples that, love, that have become really, really close in their relationships. And they safely share private information with each other. And this is a place where you can talk about work, or you can talk about family or marriage or whatever is going on. And you can do that over drinks or over dinner. You go do a double date. This is kind of that context. A girls' night out, you bring your best friends out and it's not a open house or a Super Bowl party, but it is friends spending time together, sharing private information with each other. Then you have the transparent context. The transparent context is when you are with just 1 or 2 others, and this 2 to 4 people are your closest friends. This is your best friends where you have intimate conversations. You're not just at a party where you're having random conversations with whoever, but you are having coffee. You're sitting by each other at the pool. You are playing golf with this person that you become close to. And you guys are talking and catching up on life. In the transparent context, it's characterized by complete openness and candor. Nothing is held back. That's really where you begin to find belonging. That's where you are know others and you are known by others. And the last context, according to Bobby, is the divine context. This is where you spend time alone with God. This is your personal relationship with Him, where you and God are developing that intimacy, right? And what happened was Bobby studied the Gospels and he saw that all of these contexts are seen in Jesus' ministry as He made disciples. Remember, we're talking about the made for more life. How do you get the full life, the abundant life, that made for more life? Well, you have to become an apprentice of Jesus. And then how do you make other disciples? Well, you do what Jesus did when He discipled His apprentices, when He trained them, His Padawans. We try and take what He did and we do that too. And this is what Jesus did. Look at how He used these same numbers. Jesus spoke often to huge, large crowds. There were sometimes 5,000, 4,000 people Jesus was speaking to. And then there were times where He had 70 followers or 120 that He sent out to go do a short-term mission trip. And then He had His 12 closest followers, His disciples, that He spent a lot of time with, had a lot of conversations with, and He went deeper with them than He did with the crowds. And then there were moments where He just took Peter, James, and John, the 3, up to the Mount of Transfiguration. He took them in at Jairus' daughter's house to heal her. He took those 3 with Him into the Garden of Gethsemane before He was killed, because those were His closest ride and die friends. And lastly, Jesus often would go off by Himself to pray. You see, Jesus used these same contexts to train and apprentice people in His way of life, to help them love, look, and live like Him, to give them that full abundant life. And so we as the church should do the same. Bobby said this in his book. As you look over this list, we want you to see that there are both stop and start implications that apply personally and to those you lead. You must stop expecting complete discipling or training from just 1 or 2 contexts. You must start a sustainable rhythm of church that gives you each of the 5 contexts, thereby enabling you to play your part in discipling others. He's saying you can't expect the worship gathering to do everything that all the other contexts desire you to do. I promise you that circles are always better than rows. The worship gathering is important and recalibrates your heart. It's not something to be dismissed, but it's incomplete. It's a third of what trains people to be to find that full life in Jesus. Actually, when you sit in a room and you begin to challenge each other and encourage each other and to support each other in the highs and lows of life, you begin to grow more and more and more in your faith to become more like Jesus because of that. And so we as a church at the gathering, we wanted to make this accessible to everybody. How do we help you as someone who's new to faith, new to Jesus, have involvement in these 5 contexts in a way in our busy 21st century world? Okay. And so this is what we've done. We took each context and we figured out, hey, how can we do this for our people at our church? So the public context, this is what our weekly worship service, this is our worship gathering. And what we want to help teach you to do today is to have right expectations for each one of these. Don't come to each of the contexts expecting it to be the be all end all. Know what the purpose of it is so that you don't have more and more disappointment as you try to find belonging at a public context of hundreds, or thousands of people coming for an outside shared resource. So the weekly worship service, the purpose of it is inspiration, movement, and movementum is what he calls it, and preaching. That's nothing really about belonging there. It's more about what you are experiencing and receiving from God in that moment. The social context, this is what we do with our dream team. When you say yes to serving on a ministry team, whether it's hospitality or set up or tear down or band or worship or kids ministry, you become part of a community that has a mission, that has a purpose, and you get to live out serving and that getting rid of that self that's at the heart of every sin by making others first. That's what you get to do when you say yes to being a part of our dream team. Then there's the personal context. This is what we do with our home groups. This is the primary way we help people begin that journey of knowing others and being known by others. Home groups provide closeness. People know what's going on in your life. They provide support. They encourage you when you are struggling, when you are down, and they provide challenge. Home groups is where someone can know what you're going through and say, hey, I want to challenge your thinking on that. I want to challenge the way, you are living day in and day out. Like, we need that for each other. We need that accountability for each other. Well, that happens at home group. That's not really going to happen sitting next to somebody every week for the worship gathering. Then there's the transparent context. This is where you deeply know someone. There's vulnerability, there's intimacy, openness, true lasting impact. And this happens organically at our church, where you're involved in the other 3 contexts. The reality is what happens is you have people who begin to say, hey, let's me and you go get coffee. Hey, let's go do this discipleship experience together. Hey, will you help me hold me accountable with this area of my life and text me separately outside of group? Intimacy, openness, and impact. That's the expectations you can have for that kind of transparent context. And the reality is we can't program this. You aren't transparent with strangers. All the other 3 contexts are leading and guiding you with the right relationships and rhythms where hopefully out of these things, the byproduct of them is that you begin to find 1 or 2 other people that you can become this ride or die friend with. Okay. And the last one is the divine context, this alone time with God. This is where those devotional habits we're talking at the end of every session are so important. We're trying to give you and equip you with tools and resources where you can go practice time alone with God. And this time alone with God, what you can expect or the outcomes of that time are you remembering who you are, that you are a child of God, that you are a masterpiece made in his image, that you have a destiny and a purpose, that God's moving you to something. He's changing you, transforming you into who he created you to be. And you can receive the truth that God wants you to hear for your life today. And so these are the ways in which we're trying to live these contexts out. Now, let me talk about home groups. This is where a lot of mismanaged expectations can be placed on getting involved in a home group. And us pastors are the worst at it. Okay, so let me unpack that for a moment. The home group, the home gathering, what it is and what it isn't. The home gathering is not a matchmaking service for friends. I have seen so often pastors get up and say, if you're alone, if you're looking for friendship and deep relationships, then join one of our home groups. And they make promises that they can't deliver. I've done group ministry, doing ministry with these small groups or home groups or whatever you want to call them. I've done it for 15 years or so now. And what I have seen is that when you make that promise, you set an expectation that if you sign up for a group, us, the church, we will give you your best friends for life, your ride or die friends. And that may happen 15 to 20% of the time, but it doesn't happen 100% of the time. I can tell you that. It doesn't even happen probably 50% of the time. And what we do is we set these expectations for people that cannot be met. And when you have that hunger and that longing for that ride or die friend that knows you and that you know them so well, and a church in the religious setting makes a promise that it can't deliver, disappointment always follows. And the result is that either you are bitter or you pull away and you walk away from that church because they were too cliquey or whatever reason you bring up. Okay. I can't promise that you're going to find your best friends by joining a home group. That's the transparent context. This is the personal context. The transparent context is where you find your ride or die friends. Home groups are how we live out the personal context of closeness and support and challenge. So that's not what home groups are. It's not what the home gathering is. It's not a matchmaking service for friends. So what is it? Home gatherings are relational contexts. So it is relational. You still have a relationship with each other. But the purpose of it, the outcomes you can expect is you can get close with others, even if they're not your best friends, for closeness, support, and challenge. When you're in a home group, no, you have a group of people around you who know what is going on in your life. They know if you're sick or in the hospital or you lost your job. They know if you're having issues with your children or financial struggles because you're being safely transparent with them. It's for support. Home groups ensure that no one walks alone through the highs and lows of life, that you have people around you who are going to love you, even if you guys don't know have a lot in common, or you don't know what to talk about, or it's this person, you just don't really click. The purpose of home groups is to say, listen, hey, I'm going to support you in this season of our life together. I'm going to make sure you're not alone. And then lastly, home groups are for challenge. You're putting yourself in a place where people are there to challenge you by their own walk with Jesus and by maybe giving you feedback on your life, where you can say, hey, I want other eyes on my life to help me grow my relationship with Jesus. Our heart with our home groups and our home gatherings is this, that your present should not isolate you. Yes, home gatherings may not be the place where all of those people are your best friends, your ride or die friends, where you're in that transparent context. I'll tell you this, my own story. I was in a home group for years and we were the best of friends. And we continued to grow. And we realized we needed to share this community with others because we knew people who didn't have what we had. And the result was that we took our group and we multiplied it. And we started 2 different groups out of it. And we invited these people who were alone, who didn't have belonging or connection, who were trying to go through life on their own. We invited them to come join our groups. And I'll tell you, not everybody in that second group were my ride or die friends. They were not my transparent contacts. Those guys were still in the other group. But what happened was those 2 groups, that one group went to 2, those 2 groups went to 4, and those 4 groups ended up being 6 in a period of 3 years. And those 6 groups had 75 people, adults and kids, all of which were surrounded with closeness, support, and challenge. Were they all of our best friends? No. My transparent contacts were these other 2 guys that were leading these other groups that I got to talk with about how we're discipling and how we're pastoring and shepherding and caring for these other people in our groups. Those are the ones that I confess my deepest, darkest secrets to, my struggles, my pain, my heartache. They were my ride or die friends, my transparent contacts. We continued to hang out with each other outside of group. I didn't meet them if it wasn't for the home group. A lot of times home groups, if you're in them for long enough, you're going to find those friends. They're going to be a byproduct of being in group after group after group, but maybe not all at the same time. But the reality is our home groups are designed to multiply so that every person, we want to live this value out, that every person who belongs to the family of God knows that they are not alone. Your present should not isolate you. That's what it looks like and what it means to be involved in the home gatherings of the church. It's bringing the right expectations so that you are not met with disappointment. And so what do you do? Like, what if you have a habit that you can live with that can make you give the best opportunity to participate in this home gathering, to know and to be known, to feel like you belong? The best habit that Jesus gives us and that the disciples dedicate themselves to was testimony, was story, was sharing with others. This is what Jesus has done for me. This is what Jesus is doing for me. And maybe you've never done that before. Maybe you've never thought about your life before Jesus, how you came to Jesus and your life after Jesus. This is a tool we want to give you. It's a 15-second testimony that you can use to learn how to start being transparent with others cautiously as you build affinity with others in those public contexts. In that personal context, you can safely share personal information, and then hopefully with those one or two other people, you can get to that transparent context of total vulnerability with them. And it starts here, this little tool. If you want to learn how to do this tool and how to kind of write your own testimony and start on that journey of transparency and vulnerability, scan this QR code. We have a tool we'd love to train you with on how to write that and begin that journey of knowing others and being known. This is one step in the journey of you discovering that full life Jesus has for you, is getting involved in that home gathering so that you can feel like you belong, that your present doesn't isolate you. Because remember, you are made for more. So don't settle for anything less. So, Andy and Lindsay, you hear me talk a little bit about the home gathering. So what are your questions? What do you think people are going to be asking about the home gathering and this desire to belong?
So for me, when I remember first being asked to join a home gathering, and after inviting others to home gatherings, I think this has always been like the standard question. And when I invite others, this is what people have said to me. So I think this is an important question. You hear, I don't like to speak in front of others. I'm not good at reading the Bible and applying that Bible verse to my own life and interpreting it. How am I going to speak on this in front of others? I'm nervous about it. How do you get away from this fear and explain to somebody who might be thinking, I can't do this, explain a better way to get around that fear?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, fear is overcome. Let me get this right. Trying to remember the technical term. I'm not going to get it. I got it. Haha. Okay. Fear is overcome through vicarious experience. Okay. So vicarious experience is key. They did the study with helping people overcome the phobia of snakes. Okay. And they did an ad. Hey, if you are scared of snakes and you want to overcome your phobia, come to this place and we'll help you do that. And all they did to help people overcome the fear of snakes is they had you watch someone else handle snakes. And so literally they'd have people who could not even go to the room with the snake in the room. And they would just have those people watching, like literally around the corner. They would have their head like on the little window that's in the door, watching, like peeking, watching. And there was a person just holding a big snake. And as they held the snake, they would see the person who had the severe fear of snakes slowly make their way into the room, slowly come closer to the snake, slowly touch the snake, and like 9 times out of 10, crazy amount, they would then have that person sitting in a chair with the snake on their lap. And the reason is because of vicarious experience. The person with the fear saw someone else doing the thing that they were afraid of. They had enough exposure of the fear to show that fear is actually warranted. And they were able then to participate and engage the thing that they were previously terrified of. And so I would encourage someone who's brand new to Jesus, brand new to church, that have all the questions. I don't know how to interpret the Bible. I don't like speaking in front of other people. Say, hey, come 3 weeks and you don't have to say anything. Just come watch. Because what you're doing is vicarious experience. You're having them come to the environment they're terrified of, and they get to watch everyone else engage. We use a very simple process at our church. It's called Discovery Bible Study. We ask the same 3 questions every week. The only thing that changes is the passage that we're reading. And you are the expert on every answer. The questions are, what do you like or find challenging? It's not who's a Pharisee or, what did Jesus mean when he quoted Psalm 8 here? No, it's just, what do you like about this passage or find challenging? Second, what did you learn about Jesus or yourself? You're the expert on both those answers. And the last one is, hey, what are you going to do? How can you take this and change something about your life? All of them, you are the experts of those answers. And the goal is to help people who are brand new to Jesus begin to engage reading in scripture, hearing. And when they sit and listen for 3 weeks and say nothing, they see everybody else engaging and answering questions, and they go, well, I can do that. And I have never had somebody come for 3 weeks in a row and never say a word. I've typically had people come 1 week, the first week of their 3 weeks commitment to come and not have to participate. And by the end of that first week, they share something. They speak up. Definitely by week 2. I've never had someone make it to week 3 and not say anything, because the vicarious experience of the fear is overcome by seeing the other people engage. Good question. Andy, what about you, man?
I would say for somebody kind of waffling here, do they have to join a home group, or do I have to join a home group? Can I get some of these benefits, or can I give some of these benefits just by having a close group of friends?
You can, Jesus in the Bible is not going to, if you're just hanging out and going to drinks, you're not going to be centering your life on Jesus in the Bible in this gathering, right? Like, you can know and be known, but when you're trying to say, hey, I want the full life that Jesus offers, this is the mechanism, the vehicle through which true vulnerability and transparency happens, right? You can definitely have a group of guys who are going to a bar and know each other and know what's going on in their life and feel like you belong a little bit. But how transparent are you with that group, right? Like, are you talking about the real stuff? Are you talking about things of your past, your shame, or how you're overcoming your shame, or what struggles are going on in your relationship and how Jesus is changing you? What truth are you taking in? Are you all sharing just whatever you feel like is true for you? Remember, we're trying to, this is in the context of where we believe that Jesus gives us the full life, right? He promises full life. We believe he can give it to us. We want that from him. This is the mechanism he has given us to help us find that full life now. And it's always centered on his words. They've devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to prayer, to fellowship, and to the breaking of bread. And so these things are tied together, right? The worship gathering also has those elements in it. The home gathering has those elements, those devotions in it. The time you spend just with God has those elements in it as well. And so I would say that, yeah, you can have friendship outside of church. You don't have to have church to have friendship. But if you want belonging and you want transparency and you want the life to look, love, and live like Jesus, this is the mechanism through which that happens. Lindsay?
Well, why is sharing your testimony so powerful in growing faith?
In Revelation chapter 12, there's this picture we're given of our enemy, Satan, who wants to rob us of the full life. And he's this big, nasty dragon. It's this imagery. It's beautiful imagery if you understand Old Testament history and Roman history. If you don't, then it's just kind of weird. Okay, you're like, is this Desolation of Smog? Like, what's going on here? Is this the Hobbit? Like, this is weird. Why is there a dragon? Well, the serpent was this image of evil. In the serpent was the one that deceived Adam and Eve in the garden. And so he's pulling from that, and he's showing this dragon who's out wreaking havoc on Christians. And there's this verse. It says, we overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb. So Jesus dying on the cross, that's what that image is. And then it says, as clear as day, and by the word of our testimony. The reason it's so powerful is the reason why these 2 words might be the most powerful 2 words in the English language. Me too. Right? Satan wants you to believe that something's wrong with you, that you're the only person that struggles with this. And if he can keep you hiding in the dark, those secrets in the closet no one else knows about, then he knows that he has you trapped. Because the trap is this: you know that people are only accepting the facade that you've put out for them to accept. They're not accepting the real you. They don't know it all. Because he has you believe if you share all that with them, there's no way that they'll love you and accept you with all that. And so we share as much as safe. Like transparency is sharing enough that people know about you. Vulnerability is sharing things that people can hurt you with. They can do damage to your life because of what you've shared with them about those dark secrets, the baggage, the issues, the lies that you're believing. And so testimony is taking those things out into the open and saying, this is me, warts and all. And in the community of grace, when you do that, the power of the church is someone looks at you and goes, me too. Like, I struggle with that too. That happened to me. You're not alone. And when someone says that, when you are vulnerable and transparent with others and you're able to be met in that pain with mutual like understanding, Satan's power just dissipates. It goes away. Now you are fully known and fully accepted and loved as you are. That's the power of testimony. And that's why testimony gets longer as the contexts are smaller, right? You share a 15-second testimony with a stranger at a coffee shop. That's a pretty safe one. I struggled with selfishness. With your transparent context of your one or two diehard friends, you share, I struggle with pornography. You know, that's different than I struggle with selfishness or addiction, you know, or whatever. That's bland, that is kind of general, that's safe. That's where testimony will grow and expand as you begin to trust these people. You build affinity with them on Dream Team and your public context. You're in small group for a while. You see them be transparent. You see them be real. You start to develop a deeper relationship with them. And then now you can go to that deeper level and go, hey, I want to really share with you my whole story. So testimony slowly gets longer over time as you begin to trust more and more of those people around you. I would encourage you to not just go share your whole story with everyone, because you just can't trust everybody. But the heart is that over time, involvement in these different contexts can lead you to that one or two or three diehard ride or die friends. Andy, last question.
Well, that's just one of the most beautiful parts for me in being a part of a home group is being in a safe place to share that. And then realizing I thought everybody else was invincible and I was the only one facing adversity or challenge. And then it is just incredible to be around. I would say if I'm struggling with time, like how do I make time, right? Daily Bible reading, worship service, now home gathering, like I'm all good, I'm all in, but like practically, how do I go about making this change? Because all of this is so new. And so if I did one or two, would one be more important than the other? Where do I start?
This is the hard part of the busy 21st century modern world. It really is. I mean, this is a hard question. That I don't have a real simple answer for you. I know that Jesus says in Matthew 6, where your treasure is, there your heart is also. And so if you want your heart to be recalibrated towards God, then you lead your heart with your treasure. A lot of times we hear treasure, we think money. And that's true. Money is something we treasure. You know what we value more than money is our time. Because money you can get back. Time you can't. Time, I think, is way more valuable than money. Because once that minute, that hour on a Monday night or a Sunday night or a Thursday night is gone, it's gone, right? And so if you want to look, love, and live like Jesus, you have to give time to him. Okay? You just have to. And when you do, when you rearrange your life to make him at the center, the reality is those other things that are not as important, but maybe are more urgent or feel more urgent, or are the time waster things we all dedicate way too much time on. Those things, we don't miss them that much. Every one of you has time. I just want you to tell me how many hours your phone says that you are on your phone every day. You have hours, because I do it too, right? Research says that the average American touches their iPhone 300 times a day.
That's it?
300 times. If you had any other device, a hammer, a cup, keys, that you touched 300 times a day, we would say you have a problem, right? Yet it's become the norm. Like, that's what everybody does. And so we all have time. It's making time. It's making time and saying, no, he is king. You're talking about the full life. You're talking about the flourishing life. I want to flourish. I want to have abundance. I want to have made for more. Okay, then give him 2 hours a week. Give him 4 hours a week. And that's not even 10% of your week, And you talk about, hour and a half on Sunday morning, hour and a half on a Tuesday night. And that Sunday morning is including serving. Hour and a half on a Tuesday night. That's your home group. So you have 3 hours. If you do 10 minutes a day of a devotion with Jesus, your one-on-one time, you're getting around in 4 hours. It can be done. And when you do it, your heart will begin to change. You begin to look and love and live more like him. So that's home gathering. Home gathering and testimony, vital to the full life in Christ. Hey, this is another episode of Sci-Hover and Friends. Thank you for following along. You can do that. You can subscribe. You can on YouTube. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram. It's great to have you all in this journey of finding that full life in Christ. And remember, as always, that you were made for more. So don't settle for anything less.